Hola mi gente, welcome back to Cat into Too Many Books. I'm Kat, and I am here today to talk about the books I read in March and also the books I plan to read in April. So obviously this is my March wrap up and my April TBR. Thanks to everyone who's joined me and the people that have subscribed so far. I love having people subscribe. I love talking to people about books, so it's great to have people to talk to, and please feel free to comment and give me recommendations. I'm all happy about recommendations. So let's just get right on started. Hi, Sawyer. Sawyer right behind me. You can see him. Hi, Sawyer. Hi. You gonna hang out with us while we do this? Yeah? Oh, what a good boy. He's usually so very, very shy. Aren't you? Maybe we can give the people some pretty dog. Yes. Oh, he's so cute. Maybe I'll do a little dog edit at the end. They're so adorable. I love them. Anyways, okay, let's get started. So let's just start with my March wrap up. And I read 5 books in March, which is pretty good. I'm in the throes of finishing my grad program. I'm about to complete my comprehension exam next Monday. Good Lord. And so once that's done, I only have a couple more weeks and then I'm finished with grad school. I am going to graduate. So I have so much free time after that. And I am looking forward to being able to just read the books that I want to read. And then summer is around the corner and I'll have a lot of free time. So I'm hoping to pick up the reading a little, but 5 isn't bad. It's better than February. So that was what I wanted. And I am on track for what I want to read for the year. So always good. So let's start with what I read first. I actually finished Blanche on the Lamb by Barbara Neely. I read this originally supposed to be for finishing around in February. I didn't quite make it. So I finished it in March. We talked about it, I think, in my February wrap up. I had just finished kind of reading it, but I was towards the end, so now I'm just putting it in my March TBR because that's where I have it. But I gave it a 3. It's a difficult one. I think I talked about this before. I have like complicated feelings about this book. It was lacking in the murder. Like it's like the murder took up literally like halfway through a 150-page book was when the murder took place. So there wasn't a lot of like suspense, which, you know, is part of a murder mystery. And while Blanche isn't always likable, and that's not a thing I need in my protagonist, she's always real. But Neely's a really good writer, and she had a lot to say about the treatment of Black women, particularly in southern states. Trigger warning for talk about sexual assault, obviously racism as well. And it's still relevant now. It was just written in 1995, but those were the issues I had. The depiction of both mentally ill and intellectually disabled people was not great. And I didn't love how again, trigger warning, the sexual assault was presented and not even really dealt with or talked about. So maybe she does later on in the series, I don't know. But yeah, I gave it a 3 mostly for the writing. The next one that I read was, I finished with my class, The Phantom Tollbooth, which was written by Norton Juster, illustrations by Jules Pfeiffer, and sorry, I thought I saw one of my dogs walking. That was a little weird. Okay, anyway, it's a little creepy. So I read The Phantom Tollbooth with my 5th grade class for school as part of our curriculum. I didn't know how well it would go over with them. They actually really loved it. Justa did a really good job using wordplay to make kids sort of understand how wordplay works. He wrote the book in 1961, so it's a bit out of date in terms of some of the things that they talk about, but we were able to really learn a lot from it. It was great teaching moments. And it's really about Milo, a 10-year-old boy who's bored with everything. And so he wastes time, doesn't understand why the world is the way it is. Although, to be fair, it's that's quite relatable. So he comes home from school one day, he finds this package, he opens it, it's a toll booth called the Phantom Toll Booth, and it takes him to a land called the Kingdom of Wisdom, and he has to figure his way through the land and is given a mission to rescue the princesses of Rhyme and Reason to sort of bring peace back to the land. That's the basic premise of it. It was a really cute story. And there was a little bit of language, certain words that we wouldn't use anymore, in it, and we talked about those again as a learning moment. Overall, it was fine in that respect. And the ending was a little lacking for me, but it was fine. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. So that's not too bad. So that was my second book, again, The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. The next book I read, and I want to talk about is, these are my 3 favorites, my 3 top favorites of the month. The Seventh Bride by T. Kingfisher. I was so pleasantly surprised by this book. I don't know why. I just read like my first T. Kingfisher earlier this year, I think in January, and I loved her. And I loved that book so much. I read A House with Good Bones. I loved it. And so I shouldn't have been surprised. But it is, I thought it was a young adult. It's not. It's actually an adult. It just has a young protagonist in it. But it reads so much. It's lovely. I love it. It has her sort of humor that she tends to have in her books. It's totally in there. And the book is about Rhea, who's like a 15-year-old miller's daughter. So it's a fantasy fairy tale sort of retelling, basically, of oh my god, Bluebeard. So it's like a retelling of Bluebeard, basically. And so Rhea's like 15 years old, and she's forced to marry Lord Craven. And forced meaning by, her family will lose their mill if she doesn't do this. She has no interest in marriage presently at all. Thanks. But she arrives at his house and finds that he's been married 6 times before. And his wives are in different places in the house or on the grounds. And it's just her story of figuring a way out of the situation. She doesn't want to end up his wife. So I really loved the style of writing, as always. The fairy tale lore was great. She always uses humor, of course. And it's never overdone. I feel like I sort of compare it to how, Hendrix overuses his humor, and it's over the top, but his stuff is supposed to be over the top, right? So like it works for him, and I do enjoy it, but it can be a little much sometimes. Her humor is much more subtler, and it just sort of is weaved into the story and the way the characters' personalities sort of are shown. So I love it. And I really, really, really ended up loving Rhea, like truly, truly loving Rhea. Like she is so resourceful and vulnerable and determined, sensible, and very humorous, like in her own mind. She's like so funny when she talks, and I just loved her. So I gave this 4.5. I gave it 4.5 stars. Yeah. So the next one I have is, there's 2 very different books. I believe I gave both of them 5 stars. So let me talk about the first one I want to talk about, which was Sweetwater, Black Women and Narratives of Resilience by Robin M. Boylorn. Now, this is a book I read because of a grad class that I had. I read an article that had Robin Boylorn being quoted, and then parts of the narrative of the book was in it. So I loved the narratives of the book, so I was like, oh, I need to pick it up. And it's one of those books that I didn't just read Sweetwater. You don't read it, you kind of feel it, right? It's so visceral in so many ways, and it was just so important to have Black voices telling their own stories, and that's the idea. Sweetwater is a partly analytical text about like Boylorn introduces her study and like gives background on the field. That's her first part. The second part is the meat of the book, and it's told in a narrative style with stories that interlink and move in like a chronological order. And it is of her particular town, Sweetwater, which is not the name of the actual town where Robin Boylorn is from. She is from a town in North Carolina. But of course she didn't say what town it was. And the names in it are mostly changed so that nobody really knows who she's talking about, because she is talking about real people. I think the roles of Boylorn's family are the same, obviously, but I think she did change some names as well. It's really impactful to me as a brown woman who understands in a very visceral way what she's saying, but who still I cannot remotely say that I have experienced what Black women have experienced in this country every day of their lives. It's very different. Our struggles our struggles intersect, but they are also quite different, and Black women's struggles are so difficult in so many ways, in so many levels. And I just highly, highly recommend this book. It's wonderfully told. It makes you feel so much. I don't know. If this is 5 stars, I highly recommend it. Now, the next book that I have, it was also a favorite. It was another 5 stars. So this is my second 5 star of the month. And this is a completely different book. And I think the 5 star is both the writing, but also the experience of me reading this book. And that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. Oh my gosh. See, listen, I am a person who has never truly liked books that revolve around fairies. I've not ever really been into fae lore. Because I think in recent years, fae lore has become not something I particularly like the way it's portrayed. And not that it's like, if you love the fae stories out there, oh my God, love them. I love it for you. It's just not for me. So I'm happy to read this sort of story that's like a slow burn, and it is more about learning about all the different, like, what I loved was how it was written. It's epistolary, right? It is journal entries that Emily is writing as she is exploring a new, starting a study on a new fairy like community called the Hidden Ones, who they have little to no information about, and she really wants to be the one to kind of write about them so she can finish her Encyclopedia of Fairies, which is her like big goal. And I loved Emily. She's so funny. It is a grumpy sunshine kind of story, and she's the grumpy part. And I love that about her. She's kind of crotchety and she's relatable though in so many ways. And then like you have her love interest, Wendell. I was like, I couldn't remember his name. And Wendell is literally hilarious and ridiculous, and I love him. And he reminds me so much of I think I've been moving back and forth in this chair. I'm so sorry. Howl from Howl's Moving Castle. Oh my God, I love him so much. And the longing they have, and just their relationship, and how they like interact with each other, and just the respect they kind of do have for each other, and just the development of all this in the book is beautiful. And it's slow. It's like a slow burn with a lot of like sort of longing, and I love that so much. As y'all know, I don't mind spice, but I'm not big on it, and so I enjoy romances that don't necessarily have a lot of spiciness in it, because a lot of times I'll skim those parts. I mean, they're fine, but you know. So what I love is having that connection, and so that means I care about these people when they have this connection. So not to say that I would never read a book that has spice, because I'm about to talk about a couple of those books in just a minute. So but yes, I gave this 5 stars, and I am So looking forward to reading the next one, which I will probably actually read next month. I'm waiting to read it after I graduate because I want to, you know, have all the time I want to have to read them. Okay, so those were my, that was my March wrap up. That took a lot longer than I meant for it to take. So I'm going to try to just go through my April TBR and not talk too much about it because, to be fair, I don't know everything about these books, so we'll just kind of go through them. So for April, I have the following books. I didn't show any of those books because most of those copies were library copies, and I sent them back to the library after I read them. I do have Emily, so I'll just show my Emily copy, which is so cute, isn't it? I saw this copy before I read the book, which was the hardcover, and now I've actually ordered the hardcover as well. Yeah, I might be a little obsessed. I love them. Okay, so let me just go ahead and talk about the books that I'm going to read. Let me do the two that are going to be of the readathons that you all know I've been doing in the last for the year, which is the Golden Girls Readathon and Lala's Buzzword Challenge for the year. So for Lala's Buzzword, it is actually nature. So I think it's either, I think nature in the title or like on the cover of whatever you want to interpret it, like trees or plants or whatever. If there's like nature in the actual like title, whichever way you interpret it. So I'm going to actually read The Last Bookshop by Evie Woods, which got like, if you can see, it's got like leaves on the covers right there. It's very cute. And it is, I think, 3 stories that intersect about this bookshop in Ireland. I think it's Opaline, Martha, and Henry. It's a vanishing bookshop, and they kind of come together and unlock a lot of secrets, and I think it sort of changes their lives. I think that's pretty all I got. And there, it's set in different times. As well, like the 3 different characters are in 3 different time eras, basically. So yeah, that was the one for, ooh. Okay then, sorry, oh my gosh. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. Okay. The next one is for the Golden Girls Readathon of the year as well. For April, it is disability representation. So I'm going to read Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbard. I've had this on my TBRs for a very long time, so I am definitely looking forward to reading this. And yeah, the disability representation is for the main character, Chloe, who I believe has, I don't know if it's cystic fibrosis or some sort of disability that she has to deal with every single day. So yeah, and we know this is a very, very spicy book, so we'll see how I like that. So yeah, that's the next one. I don't really think I need to go much into it. But yeah, and then after that, let me go ahead and kind of pull a few of the ones that I have. And you all know I am a mood reader. So most of these, I may read some of these books. It doesn't mean I'm going to read all of these books. And I have a sort of nice variety of like books I own and then books I have from the library that I need to read so I can take them back. And then, so there's a couple of books I've actually already started, and they went into, as I said before, I'm finishing my final big comprehensive exam, so I've been kind of busy. So I have 2 books that I've sort of been reading already, and I'll probably finish very soon. I have off this week, so I'm hoping to get them all done. So let me talk about the 2 books that I'm currently reading, and y'all know this because I think I've talked about one of these books already, and it's taken me a while, not because it's not good. It's so good. It's just so much has happened, and I, again, as a mood reader, I tend to read a lot of things and like leave it and then come back to it and read a different book. So anyway, I'm more than halfway through Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Warrenhorse. I think at the halfway point. I'm loving this book. Again, it is based off of Navajo mythology. The main character, Maggie, is a girl who was imbued with some power when she was young through some very traumatic events that happened to her. And she is a monster slayer, so she goes after monsters and is now on a quest to find out what is happening. She was just giving sort of a mission by Coyote, the god, and so she is trying to figure out what's going on. That's basically the premise of the story. There is sort of a relationship with her and a demon called Niskani, and also kind of a friendship, possible romance with a man that she meets through a friend. His name is Kai, and it hasn't been said yet, but I think Kai also possesses some kind of powers. I'll find out. That's where I am with this one. So I'm going to read that one this month. Then I am also working on David Mitchell's Slade House. So Slade House by David Mitchell, which I am in the third story, or like the third part of this. And basically this is about a house named Slade House that is in a like little working class neighborhood. And it lures different people in, and it's a horror book. And the people that are lured in, bad things happened. And I think we're leading up to possibly some sort of resolution about that. So then I have another library book, A Haunting in Highley Gardens by Raul Palma. I talked about this in my library haul. This is the story of a gentleman, and his name is Hugo. Hugo's wife recently died. He has a lot of medical bills from like her illness, and he works in a little botanica as a babalawa, which is like a witch doctor kind of sort of thing. And then his nemesis, which is the man who's like trying to collect his debts, comes to him and says that if he can come to his house and exorcise these ghosts that are in his house, he will leave him debt free. If he can do that by like Año Nuevo. So he says he can, but the thing about Hugo is he actually doesn't believe in ghosts. So he's like, sure, whatever. Even if he's a babalawa, he's like doesn't believe in it. So yeah, it's like he goes there and finds out that there is literally something going on in this house. So that's all I know about it. Sounds like pretty good. I will be reading Living for the City, Migration, Education, and the Rise of the Black Panther Party in Oakland, California by Donna Jean Murch, which is a book for one of my grad classes. I have to do a big, I'm in a book club with some of my fellow classmates, and we have to do like a report at the end. I'm reading this, of course, about the rise of the Black Panther Party in California and Oakland, and of course, how the government targeted them and dismantled them because they were doing the work that was like elevating and supporting the Black community and Black and brown community, and of course you can't have that. So looking forward to it. The next one I have is I meant to read it this month. I didn't get around to it, but I am going to read it last month. I didn't get around to it, so I'm going to read it this month. I have Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. It's about a woman who keeps going into the past and meeting one of her ancestors and trying to save him. I think that's the basic premise of it. I don't know more than that, and I don't want to know more than that. I know it's a fantastic book, and I am looking forward to it. This will be my first Octavia Butler book, so I'm looking forward to it so I can pick up some more of her things. The next book I have is another library book. It is The Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagisawa. And I think I talked about this. This book is about a 25-year-old girl named Takako, or maybe Takako, who her boyfriend has dumped her and is going to marry somebody else. So she loses her job, loses her friends, loses her apartment. So she moves in with her uncle, who runs a bookshop, Morisaki Bookshop. And it's about just like the everyday things that she meets in that bookshop and how she sort of, I guess, must rebuild her life. And then her boyfriend sort of comes back on the scene. And I don't know what happens after that. But it's a really tiny book. I should be able to read it really quickly in one sitting. And I need to read it in the next 6 days. So this book, and this next book I need to read in the next week because they're due back at the library. So the next book is my The Hookup Plan by Farah Roshan. It is the last book in the Boyfriend Project, and I am excited because I really did love the first book. I really enjoyed the first book. I loved the second book, and I'm looking forward to this one. This is London's story, who's a pediatric surgeon, and she has like a one-night stand with someone that ends up being her new boss, Derek, who is actually in town or has come onto the job to shut down her hospital. So it's that sort of like clashing of personalities, maybe even clashing of what they both want to do, and just sort of, I guess, maybe something building from that. Yeah, I'm excited to see how the other girls are doing as well, and getting through London because I really quite like London, and I'm hoping that we get more about her because she's very interesting. And so yeah, that's the next one. So I have to read that book and the other two within the next week. I will be able to do that because again, I am off for the rest of the week. So then I have 3 more books. And again, these are sort of just the ones I have in my head. I, again, as a mood reader, leave my TBR fairly open. So at the end, I may wrap up with completely different books. I just want to put that out there. The next one I have is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. This was like a pretty big book, maybe 2023? No, early 2023, maybe even like end of 2022. Because I think Adrienne Young had like a new book at the end of last year. So yeah, this is a book about a man named August? Was it August or Augustus? August Saltz, returning home after having left when he was accused of the death of a girl from the island that he was from, his community. And he returns and has to see his soulmate, Emery. And so like it's them seeing each other again and dealing with everything that they dealt with. Maybe even his feelings about, maybe she didn't believe him. I don't know. Maybe he did. I don't know what is going on. But I also know it's a very witchy book. I think it has magic in it. And yeah, and I think we just go through with the romance and go through with figuring out who killed Emery's best friend and why. And I heard it's gotten like strangely cozy vibes in a way, like it's cozy horror. I don't know what that means. I do, because a House of Good Bones I felt was kind of cozy horror, so it's a very similar like cozy horror kind of thing. So yeah, I will be working on that one. And I've got 2 more I am going to read. When I Was Puerto Rican by Esmeralda Santiago. I have another book coming. There's a book coming out by Esmeralda Santiago, or that just came out that I would like to pick up. So I want to read this one. And this is Esmeralda's sort of memoir about moving away from Puerto Rico when she was 9, I think. And she was the oldest of her siblings at the time. Was always going to be the oldest of her siblings, and so having to move from Puerto Rico to, I feel she had to move, that's Miss B, sorry, New York, I think is where her mom and her family had to move to, and it's just kind of partly talking about her growing up in Puerto Rico until that age, and then moving to a completely different country, learning a new language, learning sort of this new country, and just the way that culture works. I can relate this 100%. I also grew up in Puerto Rico when I was really little and moved here when I was quite young. And it's the same sort of idea of all this culture that you have to understand and be a part of. And I wanted to read this first because after I read this, I'm going to actually read You Sound Like a White Girl by Julissa Arce, The Case for Rejecting Assimilation. And this book is really important because as someone who felt they needed to assimilate in this country, I was lucky enough that I had parents who kept my culture in my home with me. And like I was surrounded by family all the time. And in the summers, I was surrounded by family in Puerto Rico. I was sent to Puerto Rico. I was sent to Puerto Rico every summer for a long, long time. So I was able to keep that with me, as well as, you know, as at home being surrounded by other family members that were here as well. So they were going through sort of similar stuff. Anyways, But as I grew older, I sort of lost myself in the idea of assimilating to this. When I was like a teenager, you know, felt the pressure of sort of running to assimilate. And I feel that "You Sound Like a White Girl" is very deeply something I feel, right? I feel I don't sound, when I speak Spanish, cuando hablo español, I don't feel like I sound right. And it's a weird situation to find yourself in. And as I grew in my 20s and my 30s, I regained my, like, owning myself again, and owning my language, owning my culture. I never stopped speaking it. I'm just more delving into it and associating myself more as a Puerto Riqueña, right? I'm doing that. Anyways, long story. I want to read this because it sounds like it's something that I would 100% sort of relate to. And that's it. Those are the books that I read in March and will be reading in April. This is a very long video, but I don't really like doing these separately because I just don't think that that's necessary, especially since I don't read too many books. If I end up reading like 13 books in 1 month, I'd probably do separate videos. But anyway, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, sharing, commenting, let me know what books you're going to be reading in April. Have you read any of the books that I read and think that any of them are worth me putting at the top of my list? And that's it for now. I hope you guys have a great week. Maybe I'll hopefully see you on Sunday and I have something for you. But if not, I will see you maybe next week. You guys have a great week and I will talk to you soon. Bye. I promised some video of the sweethearts. Soy. Hey, Sawyer. Hi. Hello. You want to say hello to everyone? Oh, I'm a good boy, and I'm such a handsome boy. Yes, I am. My name is Sawyer, and I'm Mom's baby boy. And of course, this is Sawyer Knightley. I got Sawyer Knightley. I named him after Mr. Knightley, which is my favorite Emma male protagonist. Hi! He does not like the camera, so this is nice that he's actually letting me show him a little bit. I love you. Okay, I'll go. And then this right here is the snorer that you hear all the time. Say hi, Bonnie. Say hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie, and I make a lot of noise. I'm Miss Bonnie Bell. And I just like to sleep and cuddle with Mom and be a sweet girl. Oh, yes. So these are my 2 babies. And they're sweethearts and they are lovely and I love them. Okay. Bye.